Today is the feast of Corpus Christi, or the feast of the body and blood of Christ. The gospel text is from the Gospel of Luke and narrates the incident of the feeding of the 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish, in which 12 baskets were gathered. This is the only miracle that Jesus worked that is found in all the 4 Gospels, and the numbers are the same. The reason for the choice of this particular Gospel on the feast is to indicate the meaning of the feast for the church. Jesus breaks bread, identifying the bread with himself, and distributes that bread, distributes himself to the crowds. Jesus holds nothing back. Jesus gives till the very last minute of his life. Jesus gives every drop of his blood. This, in a nutshell, is what the feast of Corpus Christi means. All through his life, Jesus lived selflessly. All through his life, he lived for others. At the Last Supper, he brought together in a symbolic form all that he had done throughout his life and summarized it in the breaking of the bread and the sharing of the wine. That one beautiful symbol of bread and wine was a symbol of a summary of his life. Jesus showed in that summary how each one of his disciples and each one of us who profess to be his disciples must live our own lives. If we live selfishly, if we live individually, if we live only to accumulate more and more rather than to be more and more, then we will never be able to celebrate the feast of Corpus Christi. To celebrate the feast of the Eucharist, the body and blood of Christ, of Corpus Christi in the true sense of the word, we have to dare to become like Jesus. This is what Paul says in the second reading of today. He received directly from the Lord, that the Lord himself communicated to him what it means to share, to give, to love. The love that Jesus gave was a love that was unconditional, a love that kept no record at all, a love that was truly giving, a love that was selfless. It was in every sense of the word a love that dwelt without measure, without counting the cost. It was this love that Jesus gave his disciples, and it is this love which he expects each one of us to give to each other. If we continue to share that love, if we continue to share ourselves, if we dare to be more rather than have more, if we focus on the poor and reach out to them in love, then we are truly celebrating the feast of Corpus Christi. Then the body and blood of Christ becomes relevant and meaningful and tangible today in our midst. The only Jesus that many will experience and notice today is the Jesus we make known. And Jesus becomes known when love is shared. Jesus becomes known where there is sharing. Jesus becomes known where there is giving and selflessness and reaching out in unconditional love. As we celebrate this Eucharist, let it not become for us an empty ritual, a private devotion. Let it be a sacrament in which we make Jesus and Christ present again and again. Let the bread that we share be our own sweat and blood. Let the wine that we share be our own giving and loving. If we do that and dare to do that, then Jesus becomes present, and the feast of his body and blood, the feast of Corpus Christi, is celebrated even today. Amen.